Hello and welcome to day 6 of Business English 2. We have been talking about the Editor's Challenge, the memo from Consolidated Industries. Remember, a memo is short for the word memorandum. It's a type of communication less formal than a business letter on company letterhead or something, normally used within a company to communicate within a department, between departments, or maybe even from like the president all the way down to all of the employees. Okay, so and the memo is very common short form of that. Notice there's no period at the end of it. It's just a shorter form of the word. Just like automobile, we say auto, or telephone, we say phone, or gymnasium, we say gym. Those are just short forms of the word, okay? Just a shortened version of it. But there's no apostrophe in the middle, like a contraction. For example, like can't. That is short for can not, okay? But what we've done there actually is we have shortened it. We've taken out the space and a couple of letters and put in an apostrophe, okay, to indicate that we have removed some letters, okay? That is called a contraction, all right? So here we have a short form of the word, which is, like I said, just a shorter form of it. Okay, we just shorten it, just like, as I mentioned, like gymnasium, we shorten to gym, not gum, gym. Or automobile, we shorten it to auto. There's no apostrophe here. There's no period here. So that's just a short form. Or we take other words like, say, street, and in an address or something, we can shorten that to ST, period. Or the word apartment, we shorten to APT, period. Okay, those are abbreviations. So when we have an abbreviation, we have to use a period at the end of it. No, most cases. Okay, there are some exceptions. But normally if we have an abbreviation, it's a shorter written form of the word, but with a period at the end to indicate that it has been shortened. So, in what I will call a short form of the word, it's just a shorter version of the word that means the same thing. Gym, auto, memo. Okay? But there's no punctuation, no contraction, no period. And we just say gym, auto. When we have a contraction, we don't say cannot, we say can't. So it's a shorter written form and a shorter pronunciation. And we use an apostrophe here to indicate that something is missing. In an abbreviation, it's a shorter written form. APT period is much shorter than this, but when we read it, we still say apartment. We don't say apt. Okay? So it's a shorter written form, and we use a period here to indicate that, but the pronunciation does not change. Because the reason we don't say apt there is actually a word, apt, without a period. Apt is a regular word. Apt means likely. For example, if you stay up all night playing video games, you are apt to fall asleep in class. Or to use a word from earlier in the semester, you are apt to doze off in class if you stay up all night playing video games or studying or whatever. Okay? All right. So we've been looking here at the parts of speech. We talked about pronouns. We have talked about nouns. We have talked about adjectives and verbs. Okay? So let's pick up where we left off last time and continue with this. So it says that let me just start at the beginning and read through it to catch you up to where we are. Overnight delivery services are speedy, but they are costing us too much money. Here at Consolidated, remember that's the name of the company, Consolidated Industries, we have seen our use of these services increasingly devour, eat up, consume a huge portion of our shipping budget. It seems that anyone who wants to send something to a customer or a vendor automatically does it by FedEx. What is FedEx? Yeah, it's a major shipping company, right? We'll look at that more in a moment. It says here, although we have corporate rates with FedEx, we are still spending too much on overnight deliveries. What does this mean, these corporate rates? Talks about their corporate rates. So, I'm not a corporation. I'm just an individual. So, if I want to send something to somebody by FedEx, how much would I pay? No, it's not cheap. Okay, FedEx it's a premium service, basically. It's not cheap. So I would pay just the regular rate. Because how many packages do I send every year? A few, maybe? I send a few packages every year. So if I wanted to use FedEx, are they going to give me a special rate, a discount, or anything? No, probably not. I'm not an important customer. I'm not a big customer. So I'll pay the regular price. But what if you're a corporation? What if you are a major company that sends out packages every day? Samples, products, documents. What if you send out packages every single day? Maybe hundreds or thousands of packages every year. They're going to give you a special rate. And usually you would negotiate that based on the volume of business that you do, how much you're spending. Okay? So you would get some sort of discount for being a company that does a lot of business with them. That discount or that special rate would be a corporate rate. Okay? A special negotiated discounted rate because you are a large volume customer. I used to work at hotels, and we always had corporate rates, basically for business travelers. People that were there for a sales call, a meeting, a convention, doing some sort of business. And so they would get 10 or 20% off the regular rate. That was a corporate rate, a business rate, basically, a business discount. Okay, so let's look a little bit more at FedEx. Are you familiar with it? Do you know much about it? When most people think about FedEx, they might think about this. Do you recognize this? What is it? Not a soccer ball, but it's a volleyball volleyball with a handprint on it. What's this from? This is from the movie Castaway. Castaway. And the main character here is Tom Hanks. Okay, obviously a very well-known, very famous actor. Okay? Now, castaway, a person who is a castaway is basically lost. They are, or thrown away, would be a castaway. They're lost somewhere. And in the movie Castaway, Tom Hanks' character worked for FedEx. He was some sort of like a high-level manager. Okay, and you can see here he's helping unload packages here, and you can see the scene here from Moscow in the background in Russia. Okay, Tom Hanks would travel all over the world to help fix problems, to troubleshoot, to help FedEx improve their business and their performance. So in the movie, he would fly on these FedEx jets. Now these are basically cargo jets, but of course they have the pilot and co-pilot, and they would have a few additional seats for passengers. Okay, here's one of the FedEx jets. FedEx is actually about the world's 9th largest fleet of airplanes. They are one of the largest operators of aircraft in the entire world. And actually right now, their business is still strong because people need supplies and goods and equipment, whereas right now most commercial airlines, passenger airlines, are pretty much shut down. FedEx is still making lots and lots of cargo flights. Okay? Well, on one of these flights across the ocean, the airplane encountered a storm and crashed into the sea. And the pilots were killed, and they thought that everybody on board was dead. Well, Tom Hanks actually survived the crash, and you can see here he's in a raft in the water splashing around him. But he actually survived the crash of the airplane into the ocean and climbed on this raft, and you can see it here, and eventually the raft washed up onto a beach of a small island in the middle of the ocean. And while he was in that raft, he sort of gathered up some of the FedEx packages that were floating in the water around him. And he opened up several of those packages. Most of them, a lot of them were just documents or useless items, but he did find some things that were useful to him. Here he has some ice skates, and if you're familiar with ice skates, they have a very sharp edge on the bottom. That blade on the bottom is really, really sharp. So he was able to use those to cut things, and to use the end of it here as kind of like an axe to chop things or to open coconuts to get the juice out of those. So he did find a few useful things, and one of the things he found was a volleyball. And the reason there was a volleyball in the movie here was, well, let's read the story here. The script writer of Castaway, a movie script is the story with all of the dialogue and the conversation and everything. The script writer of Castaway, in a bid to understand how Tom Hanks's character would survive and hunt for water, food, and shelter, voluntarily stranded himself on an isolated beach for a week. So, let's back up just a second. The scriptwriter of Castaway, in a bid to understand. A bid here would be an effort. Okay, not like a bid on eBay or in an auction of some sort, but in a bid to understand something, in an effort. Okay, so here making a bid to do something is trying to do something. In a bid to understand how Tom Hanks's character would survive and hunt for water, remember he's on an island in the middle of the ocean, hunt for water, food, and shelter, protection from the sun, from storms, from rain, from wind. This scriptwriter voluntarily stranded himself. So in the movie, Tom Hanks's plane crashed and he was stuck there. He had no choice. Here, the scriptwriter said, hey, I want to understand. I want to know what this will be like. So take me to a beach, take me to an island, and leave me there. No food, no water, no supplies, no shelter. Leave me there. I want to experience this. I want to understand how difficult this would be. So he voluntarily stranded himself. If you're stranded somewhere, you're stuck with no way to escape, to get away, to go anywhere. Right now, around the world, many people are stranded in other countries because flights have been canceled, or countries they want to get to have restricted air travel or any kind of travel. So some people, many people right now find themselves stranded someplace. It can also be something simpler. If you're out somewhere and the subway closes and there's no buses, you're stranded. You're kind of stuck. You're unable to go anywhere or to get where you want to go. So he voluntarily stranded himself on an isolated beach for a week. Okay, so let me type a couple of those words in here. Stranded is another useful one. Oh, there we go. He stranded himself on an isolated beach. Isolated all by himself. Nobody around. Okay? Right now, many people are going through isolation because of the virus, because of the quarantine measures. So many people are self-isolating at home, or maybe at some quarantine facility. Okay? So he stranded himself on an isolated beach for a week. He wanted to say, hey, what will this be like? During the time he spent there on the beach, a volleyball washed up on the beach. The water washed it up onto the beach. And that inspired the character of Wilson. Wilson was the volleyball. Okay? So this wasn't originally planned. It wasn't part of his original idea. But when he was there, this volleyball came up on the beach and he thought, hey, you know, that would be kind of cool to put that in the story. So that made this new part of the movie, which actually was a pretty significant, a very important part of the movie. Okay? Now, why was this volleyball, why did he call it Wilson? Well, you can see here under Tom Hanks's thumb, there's a character here, and you can see it a little bit smaller, the writing in the corner here. The brand of the volleyball is Wilson. That's the company that makes it. Just like Nike or Adidas, Wilson is a large sporting goods company. They make equipment and uniforms and things like that. Tennis rackets and basketballs and all sorts of sports equipment. Okay? And this is actually, they have used this as a marketing thing. Wilson here has an official Castaway volleyball that they sell. So Tom Hanks opens these packages. He uses some of the items from them, and then he eventually is able to escape from the island, to get away, to He builds a raft and is eventually able to go out into the sea where he is rescued by a ship. Okay, now let's look at some shipping companies. Obviously, we've got FedEx here, major shipping company. You may have heard of DHL. There's UPS, and in the U.S., we have the United States Postal Service. Just like in Korea, you have the Korea Post, we have the United States Postal Service. That is often just written as USPS, United States Postal Service. Not to be confused with the one beside it there, UPS. What's UPS? That is the initials for United Parcel Service. A parcel is a package, okay? And that could be a document or a box, but a parcel is a package of some sort, okay? So, FedEx is actually short for the original name of the company was Federal Express. So for many, many years, it was known as Federal Express. But that was kind of long. So people shortened it to FedEx. They just took the first part of Federal and then the first part of Express, FedEx. And that is actually since about 2002 or 2000, that is the official company name. That they've actually changed the name to FedEx. Okay? So UPS is United Parcel Service. DHL, I have no idea what that stands for. Okay? Now, in Korea, you don't have the United States Postal Service, but you would have, of course, Korea Post. But they don't really do international shipping. So what you might see around here is, again, FedEx. DHL is still here. UPS is also international. And I've seen trucks for FedEx, DHL, and UPS. I've seen all of those in Korea. Another one you'll see is EMS. Have you heard of it? Have you seen it before? EMS? Do you know what that stands for? EMS, a couple of different things I found both of these logos online. Express, just like Federal Express. Fast. Express Mail Service, EMS, or I've also seen it as Expedited Mail Services. Okay, so expedited, remember, that means faster, quicker. If you expedite something, you do it as quickly as possible. Same with express, fast. Okay? Now, the first time I saw EMS, I was really confused. I was like, because it didn't make sense to me. Because in the U.S., EMS has a completely different meaning. Do you know what that is? In the U.S., EMS is short for Emergency Medical Services. EMS, Emergency Medical Services. So when I saw this on a building somewhere, I was like, that doesn't look like an ambulance service. That doesn't look like a hospital. So the first time I saw it, I was really confused. I was like, I didn't understand. Until I discovered that it was a shipping service at a little post office type building. So in the U.S., EMS, Emergency Medical Services, so you will see it on ambulances. Okay, here's the Boston EMS, Emergency Medical Services. Or you'll see it, and you can see here the 911. That's, in Korea, of course, you call 119. In the U.S., we use 911. Not 9/11. 9/11 is a date. That was when the terrorist attacks occurred. 9/11. The phone number for calling is 911. And the reason they specify that, they're so distinct on that, is if you look at a phone, there is no 11. So when you're teaching a child how to call for help in an emergency, you don't want to say, call 911. Because if they know their numbers, they'll say, oh, there's 9, where's 11? It doesn't exist. So we separate them, 911, so they know exactly who to call. And here again, you'll see it printed on ambulances, okay? And I have actually seen this recently on an ambulance here in Korea. They actually had the EMS logo printed or painted on the side of an ambulance here. So perhaps some hospitals or companies in Korea are sort of adopting that to use on their ambulances also. At least one did. So Tom Hanks was opening these packages and used whatever he could find inside that was useful. Now, when he left the island, when he escaped, he took one package with him. It was like the last one. And he'd made a promise to himself that he would deliver this final package. Okay? And let's see what happened.
I was marooned on an island for 5 years with this package, and I swore that I would deliver it to you because I work for FedEx.
That's very admirable. Thank you.
Hey, by the way, what's in the package?
Nothing really. Just a satellite phone, GPS locator, fishing rod, water purifier, and some seeds. Just silly stuff. Thank you again. You keep up the good work.
So, what was in that package? What was in this package this final package that after being on this island for 5 years, what did he deliver to this woman? Try to write them down. What did you hear? Okay, let's listen to it again. So he finds the house here, and you'll hear that he tells the woman that he was marooned on an island for 5 years. Marooned is stranded. Okay, he was stuck there, trapped there, no way to get off the island. So we'll use that word too. If you're marooned somewhere, we can also say maybe deserted. Okay, like desert. You're deserted on an island, or you're someplace and your friends all leave you there with no way to get home. They deserted you, okay? And you're stranded with no way to get home. So in this clip, he uses the word marooned. I was marooned on an island for 5 years. And he says, I swore that I would deliver this package. Swore is the past tense of swear. If you swear to do something, you promise. Or you take, we might say you take an oath to do something. Here, he did that to himself. You'll see in movies when people go to a courtroom, they'll lay their hand on the Bible, and I guess this hand, and then they'll say, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I swear, I promise, I take an oath to do something. Here he swore that to himself.
Hi. I was marooned on an island for 5 years with this package, and I swore that I would deliver it to you because I work for FedEx.
So I swore that I would deliver it to you because I work for FedEx. It's like my company policy. Because I am a dedicated employee, I wanted to deliver this package even though it's 5 years late. And she says, "Oh, that's very admirable." It's admirable means I admire you. I respect you for that. That's amazing. That's incredible.
That's very admirable. Thank you.
Hey, by the way, what's in the package?
So he starts to leave, and then he turns back and says, "By the way, what's in the package?" He's curious. He wants to know what's there.
Nothing really. Just a satellite phone, GPS locator, fishing rod, water purifier, and some seeds.
The look on his face when he realizes what's in there. So what's in there? What did we have? A GPS phone? Or, I'm sorry, back up here. A satellite phone, which would work from anywhere. What do we have? A GPS locator? Fishing rod? Fishing rod is a fishing pole. Let's see what else. Let's listen again.
Just silly stuff. Thank you again. Just a nothing really. Just a satellite phone.
Satellite phone.
GPS locator.
GPS locator.
Fishing rod.
Fishing rod.
Water purifier and some seeds.
A water purifier, which would have helped because he was in the middle of the ocean and was surrounded by salt water, and some seeds. I can't tell exactly what those are, but maybe some kind of vegetable that he could have eaten. So 5 different things here that would have been incredibly useful and valuable to him on the island, but this was the package he didn't open. So it's obviously the look on his face here is just like disappointment and shock and disbelief. Disbelief that I can't believe I didn't open that package.
Just silly stuff. Thank you again. You keep up the good work.
Okay, so is that Tom Hanks? No, this is just a funny clip, a little parody. Just a little comedy video that somebody made, but it does fit well with the idea of the movie, or how disappointed he would have been if he discovered that he had things with him that could have helped him, but he didn't use them. So that's just a little parody. The actual ending is a little bit different than that.
Hi.
Okay. Now, you may have seen Tom Hanks in the news recently. Here's a headline from just, I guess about 2 weeks ago. Tom Hanks thanks Australian fans for support after he tested positive for coronavirus. So Tom Hanks, the actor, actually tested positive for COVID-19. Why does it say Australian fans? Well, when he was in Australia working on a new film about the singer Elvis Presley. They were working on the film there, and both Tom Hanks and his wife got sick. And it turns out that they both tested positive for COVID-19. And as you know, Australia is basically a large island. Okay? Now, Tom Hanks is married to Rita Wilson. She didn't change her last name. So Tom Hanks was again basically on an island, Australia, with Wilson. Like in Castaway, where he was on an island with the volleyball named Wilson. Here he was in Australia with his wife named Wilson. So people on the internet made some jokes about that, and you may have seen this story even. Gold Coast hospital staff, Gold Coast is an area of Australia, roll in a Wilson volleyball to keep Tom Hanks company in quarantine. So it says here that the hospital staff, the doctors, the nurses, brought him, wheeled in, or rolled in, brought in a volleyball with Wilson's face, the handprint on it, to keep him company in quarantine while he was in isolation. So the internet had a little bit of fun with that. However, the picture that you see there, the image of Tom Hanks with the volleyball, is a real photo, but it was taken at a ball game, a New York Rangers game. So he was attending this game, and somebody threw this ball to him, and he posed in the picture with it. So this picture is from the ball game, and somebody like photoshopped it to make it look like he was in the hospital. A funny joke, but fake, not actually a true story. Now, Tom Hanks and his wife are now back in the United States, and they're doing much better. So they have basically recovered from the virus, which is good news. Okay, so let's get back to our document here. So, although we have corporate rates with FedEx, we are still spending too much on overnight deliveries. So we get this discounted rate, but we're sending hundreds, thousands of packages. It's expensive. It's too much. So, to avoid future restrictions imposed by the CEO, if something is imposed, it is not voluntary. Remember, the screenwriter voluntarily stranded himself on this island. Okay? If something is voluntary, you choose to do it, you could say no. But if something is imposed on you, it's forced. You have no choice. It's mandatory. Okay? So, to avoid future restrictions imposed by the CEO, now we need a verb, you to voluntarily reduce your use of these delivery services by 50%, by half, in the next 2 months. So, basically, if we don't reduce by 50%, if we don't cut down our use in half, then the CEO will force us to stop using this. The CEO will impose restrictions. So if we can do this on our own, if we can do it voluntarily, then we don't have to be forced into doing something. Okay? So, what am I doing? To avoid future restrictions imposed by the CEO, what am I doing? Am I forcing you? Am I requiring you? Am I ordering you? No, because if I order you, if I force you, if I require you, then it is not voluntary. Okay? So, what am I doing? I could say I'm requesting. I'm asking you. Even urging. Urging is kind of pushing a little bit, but it's not mandatory. It's not required. But saying, if we don't do this, the CEO is going to make us do it. So urging is sort of encouraging. Okay? So encouraging would also work there. I'm encouraging you to voluntarily reduce your use of these services by 50% in the next 2 months. Rather than face a ban on all blank services, let's work together to reduce our costs. Here are some suggestions. Let me go to the next slide here. Rather than face a ban is like a total stoppage. Rather than face a ban, instead of, rather than, Instead of facing a ban on all blank services, let's work together to reduce our costs. So, rather than face a ban on all what kind of services here? That could be overnight services, express services, expedited services. Okay, any of those would work. Let's work together to reduce our costs. Here are some suggestions. Now, notice here that we're introducing a list of suggestions, okay? A list of 4 items, 1, 2, 3, 4 ideas. So we're introducing a list of items, so notice the punctuation here. Instead of a period at the end of this sentence, because we're introducing a list of items, we use those 2 dots that look like that. Okay, what's that called? The dot punctuation mark. That is called a colon. Okay, a colon. So a colon is used to introduce a list of items, to introduce a definition, to emphasize things, to separate things sometimes. Okay, for example, if you're doing like a ratio, 3 to 4, or sometimes they'll use something like that for sports scores. Okay, we also use it in time. It is whatever time it is. It is 1:45. Okay, you'll see it used that way as well. Okay, so here we're using it to introduce a list of suggestions. So number 1, ask yourself whether the recipient, that's the receiver of the package. The person receiving the package, the person getting the package, is the recipient. Ask yourself whether the recipient will blank use the information immediately. Ask yourself whether the person will, whether or not, if, okay, whether, W-H-E-T-H-E-R, basically means if. Ask yourself if the person will use it. Okay, do not confuse that with weather, spelled like this, which is sunshine, rain, the temperature, snow, wind. Okay? So, ask yourself whether the recipient will blank use the information immediately. And here we need an adverb, not a verb, but an adverb. So, what's an adverb? An adverb is a word that describes a verb, an adjective, or another adverb, and tells where, when, how, or to what extent. So an adverb is a word that describes a verb. So it's kind of like an adjective, but it describes a verb, not a noun. It describes a verb, it can describe an adjective, another adverb, and it tells where, when, how, or to what extent. To what extent, to what degree, how much. Okay? So an example here, James strolled arrogantly into the dance. Strolling is like a slow walk. Okay, casual walk even. Arrogantly though is like really proud, like, yeah, I look great, I'm the best dancer, I'm the most handsome guy here. Okay, arrogantly is proud, but too much. You're arrogant. Okay, some other adverbs here. On the left side, quickly, happily, sluggishly. That's slow. Like you might hear about a sluggish economy. Things are moving slow. Soon, very, boldly, patiently. So you'll notice here, arrogantly, quickly, happily, sluggishly, loud, boldly, patiently. Many adverbs end in ly. Many adverbs end in ly, but not all of them, okay? But if you see a word ending in ly, there's a good possibility that it might be an adverb. Now, obviously, there are words like fly, ends in ly. That's not an adverb, okay? That could be a verb, like to fly, like a bird or an airplane, or a housefly, the insect, okay? Could be a noun. So an adverb describes a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. So ask yourself whether the recipient will blank use the information. So here we're describing use. Will they use the information immediately? Do they have to have this tomorrow? Is it vital? Is it necessary? Or if we send it and it arrives tomorrow, will it sit on their desk for a few days? Will they wait until next week? Is it vital? Is it crucial? Is it necessary that we use this expensive express delivery service? Will they really use it tomorrow? Will they actually use it tomorrow? Will they definitely use it immediately? Okay, so here we're describing use. Will they do, is it really actually necessary for them to have it right away? Or if we send it and it arrives in 2 or 3 days, is that okay? Is that acceptable? Is that fast enough? If not, if they will not use it immediately, verb, a cheaper method. If they won't use it immediately, then choose a cheaper method, less expensive. Select, pick, use, utilize. Utilize is use. Okay, it's another way to say use, basically. Or find a cheaper method. Look for. Find a cheaper method. That would also work. To look for a cheaper method. Okay, that's 2 words, but still that would have the same meaning. Okay? All right. Send messages. Now we need a preposition. What's that? Send messages. A preposition. A preposition is a word that shows the relationship of a noun or a pronoun to another word. So prepositions show relationships between words. Relationships in space or in time. In space, in physical relationship to each other, or in time. Okay. For example here, the clue is hidden in the book between the pages. It's in the book, inside the book, between the pages. In between. Okay? In and between are prepositions. Some other prepositions they list here. Under, over, on, from, to, beside. Those are all prepositions of location, but also during. You could say the student slept during class. She slept during class. That's a relationship in time between the student and the class. And sleep. They slept during class, while class was going on. Okay? So, you can show relationships in space, in, on, at, between, beside, under, over, alongside. Okay? Those are all prepositions showing relationship in space or in time. During, while. Okay? So, send messages, blank, fax, or email. We need a preposition. Send messages by fax or email. Via. Via basically means by way of. By way of. Okay? We often use that in travel. Sometimes I have flown to the U.S., from Korea to the U.S., via Tokyo, which means I would fly from Incheon to Tokyo to the U.S. by way of Japan. I had a layover there. Okay? So, by way of. Send messages via fax or email, or through fax or email. A long-distance fax costs only about 35 cents. Conjunction. Local messages cost nothing. Email messages are equally inexpensive. Okay? Now, here we need a conjunction. So what is a conjunction? A conjunction is a word that connects words or groups of words. It's a connecting word. I enjoy rock, hip-hop, and jazz, but not classical music. I enjoy rock, hip-hop, and jazz, and connects all the things that you like, but here it connects something that you don't like, but not classical music. So, some conjunctions. Here we have and, or, but, as, also, and so. And we're going to spend some time talking about conjunctions, okay? And there are some words called coordinating conjunctions. They coordinate. If you read here, there are 7 coordinating conjunctions. They give equal importance to the words or sentences they connect. And you'll see here we have the word fanboys. Fanboys. For, F, for, A, and, N, nor, B, but, O, or, Y, yet, S, so. So if you use the first letter from each of these, F, A, N, B, O, Y, S, it spells fanboys. And I like this graphic because if you look at the shape of it there, it looks like one of those paper fans that you would fan yourself with, okay? It's spread out like a fan. So, fanboys, these are the coordinating conjunctions. And we're going to spend some time talking about these. What I want to do, obviously the lecture today's gone on long enough, so I'm going to show a few more slides here, just for a few seconds each, that you can look at and read through. And in our next class, we will go through these in more detail and discuss them and look at the examples. But I'm going to show you the slides now so that you can preview that, okay, because there are several examples there. I'm going to just go through those slides quickly. You can pause the video and look at them. And then in our next class, we will go through those and discuss them and finish the editor's challenge. Okay? So let me just go through these slides for you. So here's, again, the list of them, fanboys. And notice how they're written here with a comma before them. Each of the fanboys needs a comma in front of it. So it's always comma, conjunction. Say that. Comma, conjunction. Comma, conjunction. Okay? Here's another one that talks about sentence types, compound sentences. With a sentence, comma, fanboy, a conjunction, and another sentence. And here are some examples using coordinating conjunctions. And you can pause the video here to study these. And here are some more examples, pretty simple ones. And then here are some more complex sentences using fanboys. Okay, and that will take us back to here. So I want you to go through those slides, look at them, and decide which fanboy, which conjunction would work best in this sentence, and then we'll finish this up on our next class. Have a good day.